Best of investing. See you later. Okay, here we go. Try this again. Welcome. You're listening to the Best of Investing on Talk 910. I'm your host, Edward Brown, and I'm proud to have as my co-host Mark Hanf of Pacific Private Money, one of California's fastest-growing mortgage investment firms, and financial and investment advisor Mike Zaidlin of Madrone Investment Advisory. Our phone number is 888-912-1190. Use that number to answer the trivia questions for 3 vacations given away during each commercial break. That's right, we're giving away 9 vacations during this show. Now, the vacations are not sponsored by the radio station, but by Lighthouse Resort and Marina, located 1 hour northeast of San Francisco. The vacations are free. Their only request, a $75 cleaning fee to cover those housekeeping expenses. And since I know how much Mike loves sports, today's trivia theme is miscellaneous sports questions. Now, he knows a lot about sports, but I'll be surprised if he can get this one.
All right, we'll see.
Okay, in 1872, no, I'm just kidding. Okay, our website is bestofinvesting.com. Check us out on television, Comcast, Channel 26, AT&T, Channel 99, Saturdays at noon, Sundays at 6 p.m. Now, today, I was going to say our special guest, our special co-host here, Mark Hahn, has, you get to have one of those orange fingers that says, we're number one.
Mm-hmm.
Now, why are you number one?
So I had a book launch released this week, my first book, launched on Amazon in paperback, Kindle, and audiobook, and we achieved a #1 bestseller status. In fact, still now for a few days running, we're #1 in the real estate category. And the book that I launched this week is called The Insider's Guide to Attracting Private Money. 5 secrets to fast, unlimited capital so you can save money, buy more real estate, and build wealth. And pretty exciting stuff. It's nice to have that on my. I'll have to add that to my email signature. I've got the Best of Investing website there, the radio show website, my website. I have to have the Amazon #1 best-selling author. But anyway, it's been a lot of fun. It was a wild ride this past week on the book launch, and the book was basically written by me for my clients, for borrower clients of Pacific Private Money. Of course, for new listeners, Pacific Private Money is a private real estate lender. Used to be called Hard Money back in the day, but we use private capital to source our real estate loans, and we make loans to mostly to real estate investors who are buying, fixing, and flipping real estate. And so one of the most common questions I get from these borrower clients is, hey Mark, where do I go, or what do I do to find my own private lenders? And one might think, well, Mark, why would you write a book to show them where to find their own private lenders? Wouldn't that shoot yourself in the foot so you lose business? Well, not really, because the problem with a lot of the people that come to my company for a loan is that they think we do 100% financing. And in fact, that's not the case at all. Very, very few lenders, private, hard, bank, or otherwise, will provide 100% financing in today's market. So people with experience buying, flipping real estate, if they don't have their own money, they usually turn to what's usually referred to as an equity partner or a private investor to put up some capital for the down payment when they acquire the property, and maybe even the money that they use to rehab. So I thought it was actually in my own interest to help people, to show them what it takes to find equity partners out there to find capital, and that's what we wrote the book about.
And people can still buy the book, and it's
absolutely
99 cents.
We still have the Kindle version, yes, for 99 cents. And of course, the Kindle version, you don't have to have a Kindle, because you can read a Kindle paperback on anything, on your iPhone, on your Android phone, on your computer, on your iPad. And that's because nowadays everything is an app, and there is a Kindle app that you can download on
and
anything.
What's the name of the book?
So the book is The Insider's Guide to Attracting Private Money. And if you go to Amazon and click and look up, well, if you put in my name in Amazon, Mark Hanf, it pops up. Or the easiest way actually to get the book is just to go to the book's website, which is attractingprivatemoneybook.com. I apologize for that long word. It's 4 words strung together, all one, no spaces, of course. Attractingprivatemoneybook.com, and that'll get you the book. And again, just to give a little bit more detail about it. The need for the book is because when people would call and ask me in the course of a conversation, well, where do I go to find my own private lenders? oftentimes they're not really in a position to approach someone privately. Now, what do I mean by that? The book starts out by really talking about the importance of a credibility and opportunity package. So credibility package would be things like your biography, your experience, before and after photos of your previous flips, maybe a spreadsheet of projects you've done, or if you're inexperienced, there's a lot of things that you can put into your components of a credibility package as well. And so these are things, and there's a lot more to this, but it's really about not so much where you go and how you find private lenders, but what do you need to do, what kind of homework do you need to do in terms of preparation, so that when you go to a networking event, and I share in my follow-up product, because you can dive even deeper into this topic, but I do share in a follow-up product where you can go, and I offer templates for putting together these types of presentations, all these templates have come from borrower clients that I've had over the years that I've kept them, and that I've stripped them of all the proprietary information and offered them as templates.
The thing I think is really kind of cool about this is that even if people aren't necessarily saying, well, looking for attracting private money personally themselves, just the fact that, let's say someone wants to come to you, you kind of help them put a package together as to what you're looking for, so that they'll look credible.
Well, and I've done that and I've charged money for it. So in fact, for example, I wrote the book to provide some very basic information, and it's a relatively short read. It's 55 pages. We were just sharing before the show. I could have easily made it 150 pages, but I am not a fan of books that have that basically 50 pages of information and 100 pages of fluff. I just left out all the fluff. This is actionable information that you can use, and if you like what you read and you want more information, now the information put in this book can help someone who understands what I'm telling them put this stuff together on their own and have a much better chance at being attractive to people with money to invest. But if you want more, I've got a program. It's a 5 DVD series that's 5 hours of material, and then a separate bonus CD with templates galore that you can use to jumpstart. And that's also available. And you get that. You can find out how to get that by reading the book.
Oh,
the
wait,
best thing
there's more.
Oh,
I know. That's okay. I know we need to
we all do that in industry. I mean, I have something of value to give, and there's a value to it. And the DVD series is $500. Okay, right. But for $500, I've charged $5,000 in the form of an additional point or two on the loan if someone comes to me and they have experience, but they have nothing to show for it. So I'll have one of my people collect this information, put it into one of our templates, put it together for them, and then they can take that when we're done with my loan, and they can actually use that to go out and attract private capital and private investors. So we've done a lot of things with our clients over the years, but this book and the accompanying video DVD series is really based on not only my experience for 20 years working for a development company where I raised capital, and I was pretty successful at doing that from equity sources, but also for the last 6 years being a private lender and collecting thousands of real estate applications and taking the best of the best and putting them together in template form and offering them as kind of plug and play templates for people to use to put their own credibility and opportunity packages together.
Okay, so if people want the 99-cent special, go to attractingprivatemoneybook.com.
Yes.
And you'll get the Kindle version. Tell you what, Mike, you've been very silent here so far.
Well, I've never sat next to anyone who had a bestseller.
Yeah, that's true. Okay,
all ears.
Yeah. Okay, tell you what, since we were going a little bit over time here, we'll cut to a break. When we come back, I want to get right into what you have to share with us. Because I know that we want to talk about Obama's speech and affecting fiduciary, financial planners, and it'll be kind of interesting. I'm sure it'll be interesting. Okay. If you remember, last week we did have a special trivia contest where the winner got, an overnight stay at the McCaffrey House in Twainhart. And let's see what we got here. Okay, so the McCaffrey House Bed and Breakfast, a 4-diamond inn located in Twainhart, a delightfully warm and enchanting mountain lodge nestled in a quiet forest hollow of the High Sierra, within an hour of Yosemite National Park. You can awaken each morning to a fabulous full breakfast and end your day with a wine social. Enjoy hiking and biking, live theater, gold rush towns, wineries, skiing, golf, and so much more. Call 888-586-0757 or visit McCaffreyhouse.com. Okay, so here was the question. I'll tell you the answer and the winner. What do you get when you mix copper, zinc, and nickel together? And we had someone answer brass, but that's not correct.
I'm not a chemist.
It's called German silver,
German
and
silver.
it's used in flatware. And we had a winner here, Alex from Mill Valley, a
Nice.
local guy. Okay, so here is our first trivia question against sports. So Mike, ears perked up. What did it do?
Perked up.
Perked up. There you go.
There you go.
Who was the first pitcher in history to win 2 consecutive season MVP awards? The first 3 callers with the correct answer win a free. Do you know that one? Oh my goodness gracious. Okay. Who was the first? Okay. Here's the question again. Who was the first pitcher in history to win 2 consecutive season MVP awards? I thought that was a hard one. The first 3 callers with the correct answer win a free 3-day 2-night stay at the Lighthouse Resort. No looking at in the internet right now. Call 888-912-1190. That's 888-912-1190. Stay with us. The best of investing will be right back. Are you serious? You know that one?
Hal Newhouser.
Yes! You're the man!
I infuriate people, it's true.
That's okay. That's all right.
That's why I got beat up so much as a kid.
You just have
as an
some, like,
adult.
That's okay.
You
That's
just
okay.
have like
So,
this
I,
ability to memorize.
Okay.
that kind of
no,
stuff.
I was just really into
All right.
baseball.
My,
Well,
my brother's
that's-
that way. It's
Yeah.
like
Your brother?
baseball?
Yeah, my
with baseball or?
just anything sports. He
Oh.
just you ask him anything about sports and he'll
Okay, well, I
know
got
some
it.
arcane
The next one's
statistic.
going to be easy for you, but then the next one I think is pretty hard again. So this will be kind of fun to see if you can.
Mark, can you hold up your book and hold it steady? I'm going to get so I can put it in as an insert several times. It's allowed to do that in one moment. Just hold it for a minute.
Mike, I'm very impressed.
Well,
Even Bruce didn't get that one. It's amazing.
yeah.
Oh my God! You know what? When I had Jim Barnett on,
Thank you.
I asked some hard questions, and boy, he knows. It's amazing how much he knows.
Now, basketball or sports?
It was basketball. It was basketball. But still, you know,
Yeah,
okay, a player
sure,
versus
sure.
being just
Absolutely.
a sports fan is
Yeah.
different. I got yelled at by Sports Byline too because he accidentally said SHIT and I didn't bleep it out. He goes, "Man, dude, you got to do that next time." Ugh. Well, hey, man, tell my people don't swear, right? Tell my people don't.
Gee.
Ew.
Well, I'm looking forward to reading this book. I didn't say anything because actually Mark was just talking to me. I was listening.
He was riveted.
Yeah.
I was torn between listening to Mark and watching Kramer go, look
Yeah,
over there.
yeah. With his little dolphin fin.
It's like, watch Kramer.
I
Watch
thought he was
Mark.
watching flies.
He's watching flies.
But it looks good because you're talking to television.
Yeah,
and so that looks good.
Okay, ready?
You got to show that book, you know.
That's it.
Time out. Let her happen, Captain.
Welcome back to The Best of Investing. I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with Mark Hunt and Mike Zalin. When we got to the first commercial break, we asked this trivia question, and Mike was the man. Who was the first pitcher in history to win 2 consecutive season MVP awards?
It was Hal Newhouser of the Detroit Tigers in 1944 and 1945.
How did you
That's,
know that?
that's amazing, and you didn't even cheat by looking at my notes either.
Yeah. Well, he got a break in 1945. Most of the good players were playing major league, were fighting in World War II,
yeah.
and so he was still one of the top pitchers around. So the it was like facing AAA for him.
Wow, I'm
Both
still,
years,
I'm still impressed that you knew the answer, though. That's pretty good. So, Mike, do you want me to just ask you this question right now?
Sure.
Okay, so we got an email here that someone who was listening fairly recently about Obama's speech having to do with fiduciary duties for financial advisors. What does that mean?
Sure.
Why don't you explain what he said and how that affects the public?
Sure. Well, there's been a big debate recently within the Department of Labor drafting new fiduciary standards for investment advisors, financial advisors who are giving advice to 401k plans and for people saving for retirement. Historically, brokers and others calling themselves financial advisors have often been held just to a suitability standard. Some financial advisors are held to a fiduciary standard. Those are typically registered investment advisors, but 90% of financial advisors in the industry who call themselves financial advisors are only held to a suitability standard as brokers.
Give us I mean, I know the difference, but maybe the public audience doesn't.
So under the suitability standard, you can recommend an investment that is suitable. under a fiduciary standard, you have to recommend the investment that is in the best interest of the clients. So it's a big difference,
But in
really.
theory, though, aren't you always supposed to give advice that's supposed to be in the best interest of the client?
Well, it's interesting, but one of the things that prompted Obama to make the speech, I think, is that he has seen the polls that show that about 97% of investors believe that anytime they're getting financial advice, it should be in their best interest. So he knows it's a winning political position to do that. And it sort of goes without saying that most people do believe, I think the polls show it's about 80% of people believe that their broker is actually acting in their best interest as a fiduciary, and that not only their broker, but their insurance salesman too is acting as a fiduciary.
Yeah, I mean, I would think that,
Unbelievable.
I would think that, if I go to an attorney and I ask him to do a contract for me or represent me in court or something, I'm going to assume that he's working for me and he's going to try to do what's in my best interest.
Well, absolutely, and attorneys are held to a fiduciary standard, as are doctors and other professionals, some other professionals. But when it comes to the financial services industry, it's a there's a long history there of products being sold as opposed to advice being sold.
Yeah, but still, if somebody comes in and asks for advice and you're selling them a product, in theory, you should be selling them a product that's still, I mean, it's okay to sell a product, but as long as it's in their best interest. I mean, you think does the public have to ask the broker, oh, by the way, is this in your best interest or my best interest? I mean, that's just kind of a weird.
And that's why there's such a strong political push towards having everybody who gives financial advice to people saving for retirement to be doing it in the client's best interest. Because I think the Department of Labor estimated that the average shortfall for one's retirement is about 1 to 1.5% of what they would have had, which turns into about well, let me rephrase that. Their fees are knocking out about 1% of the total return every year.
Okay.
So instead of getting, say, hypothetically 7%, they're getting 6%. While that doesn't sound like much, over 35 years of saving of a working life, the average working life, that will reduce, according to the Department of Labor, that will reduce your balance in your 401k plan by 28%. So you could see the dramatic difference in the standard of retirement, of living, if that's the case. So these fees really matter.
Well, and you brought up a good point about this being political. Politically this is a winner because the public thinks that we all should be fiduciaries for them when we make investment advice. But this feels like the Dodd-Frank of the financial industry, and what I mean by that is the Dodd-Frank legislation that affect mortgage lending and bank lending has gotten to the point where now, as a lender, I have to be careful that I have made every attempt to ascertain the borrower's ability to make the payments on that loan. Otherwise, I'm now exposed to this. Well, I'm being sued by the borrower. They may beg me for the loan, but 2 years later, I may get a letter from an attorney saying, you made an illegal loan. You made a loan to my client that you knew they couldn't afford, and therefore now we're suing you, and we want damages.
Sounds like Vegas. You knew I was going to lose money on the crap table. Why did you let me bet?
Right, exactly.
Yeah, it's kind of ridiculous. Now, Mike, in your case, though, it sounds to me, and maybe I'm wrong, but you're not really that affected by this ruling because you kind of always did things in your client's best interest, and you don't sell products.
Well, that's true, but still, I see many people whose retirements have been harmed by having paid fees that often reach between fees and unnecessary taxes because of turnover, often have reduced their account values by 40 or 50% over many years.
Wow.
So even though, I'm already a fiduciary, I'm already obligated to act in my client's best interest, but nonetheless, I think everybody who gets financial advice from anybody should be getting that in their best interest. So
The only thing you can't do is guarantee a return, though.
Well, no, it's about
Nobody can do
it's
that.
about the process, not the outcome. If you as a fiduciary follow a prudent process when selecting investments for your clients, that's all you can do, and provide a proper risk allocation. That's all you can do. You're never going to be held liable for an investment that didn't work out if you followed a prudent process.
Sure. I mean, nobody's got that crystal ball. The market goes up, the market goes down.
Exactly.
How do you think this is going to impact the industry, your industry, those that are like you and those that are unlike you that until now have not been considered fiduciaries?
Well, it should highlight the difference for investors between the suitability standard and the fiduciary standard, and that should. There are polls that show that 80% of investors believe that even insurance agents are acting in the client's best interest. Yeah. And so, by nature, when you call yourself a financial advisor, it's presumed, and something like 85% of clients believe that when they hear that, they are getting advice that's in their best interest.
Yeah, obviously,
It goes without saying.
It goes without saying. Yeah.
If you walk onto a car dealer lot and someone says, "I'm your automobile consultant," you know that they're not. They are a salesperson. But if someone calls themselves a financial advisor or financial consultant,
yeah.
you believe that they are recommending a product that is in your best interest. I think that's why so many of people that I see were always shocked to find that it wasn't the case, typically.
So are you, maybe I'm asking a loaded question, are you in favor of this proposed legislation?
I bet
It is proposed legislation?
Oh, absolutely,
all right,
sure,
okay.
yeah. It can only help investors as a whole, and I think it should go without saying that if you are calling yourself a financial advisor, a financial consultant, and creating any impression that you're acting in the client's best interest, then you should be acting in the client's best interest. So
I just get nervous. I just go back to the old term creeping socialism, and I just get nervous when they keep piling on more laws and more laws that are presumed to protect the consumer, yet more often than not, if not almost every single time, have unintended consequences that actually end up harming the consumer.
You know, I haven't read the whole thing, obviously,
Sure.
but actually, this is, I guess, one thing that I would agree with, though, too, is because again, I think when someone
You're
buys
both
insurance,
communists.
no, but seriously,
Just kidding.
when someone buys a life insurance policy from me, I'm just looking strictly at like what's in their best interest.
Yeah.
You know, and in fact, I never even asked the insurance companies how much the commission is. It is what it is. You do what's best for the client, and you know the fallout or the trickle down theory is I get paid. But yeah, it's funny that you mentioned the automobile consultant. And kind of when I go to buy when I go into a Mercedes dealership and the guy says automobile consultant, I'm waiting for him to tell me don't buy a Mercedes. Toyota's a lot better vehicle.
Well, Mark, to your point about governments overly regulated societies and so forth. I mean, nobody could really disagree that there can be too much regulation, but it has to be weighed off against the harm to the consumer. Ultimately, if we're all just left to the vagaries of the marketplace, a lot of people can be taken advantage of. Sold a variable deferred annuity when they're 85 years old in an IRA that they do not need, when they could have used that money for nursing care or something else because somebody made a $15,000 commission on it. I don't think that's right, and I think those people do need to be protected.
Of course, that's not a suitable investment either.
Probably. That's a good point.
That would probably get nailed on that.
Point.
All right, so tell you what, we're going to cut to a second commercial break here. Let's see. Next week, actually, believe it or not, we're going to have another special contest. We get all these great hotels to give us to give away.
Free stuff.
The Mountain View Hotel and Spa Napa Valley is a premier boutique Calistoga hotel celebrating over 100 years of hospitality. Zagat rated in top U.S. hotels and spas and member of the Green Hotels Association. It features luxury suites, private cottages, and an award-winning spa to inspire romance, rejuvenation, and relaxation in legendary Napa Valley wine country. They were voted Best Boutique Hotel in Napa Valley 2012, 13, and 14. So get this.
Nice.
Start with a continental breakfast in bed. Love that. And spend the day in the top-rated spa. Take a dip in the healing waters of the mineral whirlpool, because remember, they're in Calistoga, and lounge in a poolside cabana by the heated pool. I'm there, baby. Mountain View Hotel and Spa, 800-816-6877. So now, again, next week, we're going to have a contest for that. So now we're going to go back to our regular trivia contest, which the theme is sports. All right, Mike, this is an easy one for you. Remember Kareem Abdul-Jabbar?
Mm-hmm. Tall guy.
Yes, tall guy. What was his given first name? All right, the first three callers with the correct answer win a free 3-day 2-night stay at the Lighthouse Resort. We have to have one easy one here. Call 888-912-1190. That's 888-912-1190 to answer this question. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's given first name. All right, stay with us. You are listening to The Best of Investing. We got some good stuff coming around the corner here, so stay with us. We'll be right back. All right.
Well, Cinder.
the doors. The creeping socialists are everywhere. I mean, come on. I agree. There is too much government regulation.
I just like to be the little bit of a
Yeah,
naysayer.
no.
You gotta have a little bit of.
No, I think it makes for
Well,
great
you know, it
radio.
almost in a way comes down to the question of who are you more afraid of?
Obama?
Big business or big government?
Big government.
Well, and,
Because they have too much power.
and businessmen say big government, and I mean,
So I did not hear
But
Obama's
because-
speech about
Because
that.
business, you can't arm yourself with guns legally. The government.
but
Can't.
you can lobby to get laws passed with lawyers and then to steal money that way. Guns are an old-fashioned way of stealing, Edward.
That's
You get
that's good.
lobbyists,
That's
lawyers,
true.
The worst part of big government is when they create these
Yeah, we got a chair for you.
post
Yeah,
office
thanks,
like
Rick.
new
Just for you.
divisions,
me.
new bureaucracies that
Oh,
are just
yeah,
staffed by people, and they're the worst of the worst. They're lifetime government
Yeah,
right.
employees
That part's true.
who are there to enforce laws with
Totally.
complete dispassion, meaning that you're just screwed,
Exactly.
every
That's
time.
right. Yeah,
And
No doubt
they
about
come in and
and then you've got to pay their pensions when they retire from
Oh,
disability at age
please,
50.
please. No more.
Which
no
is
more
why,
pensions.
which is why Mill Valley, a very rich town, I don't even think can keep their libraries open because they've gotten so much. Well, I'm exaggerating a little, but they can't repair roads because if you have pensions taking up 50% of, no, but it's gonna be because healthcare and life expectancies too.
Yeah.
So that's
People get older,
that's
yeah.
clear.
you got the
Government is totally out of
CFPB, and we have even no
Yeah.
appreciation of how our lives are going to be made miserable by the CFPB in the coming years.
I'm more afraid of high jumping socialists than creeping socialists.
Yeah, that's a good point. You guys ready?
Yes.
Ready, Teddy.
Here we go. Welcome back to the Best in Investing. I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with Mark Hunt of Pacific Private Money and Mike Zablin of Madrone Investment Advisory. When we asked we went to a commercial break, second trivia question. What was Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's given first name? Mark,
I was old enough to remember him playing before he changed his name, Lou Alcindor.
would you agree with that?
No, I think it was Susie Q.
You're both wrong.
What?
His given first name was Ferdinand. Ha ha ha! It's a trick question. It actually that actually is was his given name was Ferdinand, but he went by Lou Alcindor. We'll give you an on that one.
Fine.
Okay,
Oh,
yeah.
Mark,
So
that
Mike,
was the easy one.
that was
too.
the easy
You're-
one.
You're
Yeah,
in
the
trouble.
next one's gonna be hard. I'll tell you. Well, I don't know for Mike. You answered the first one pretty darn good. Hey Mark, we got an email for you. It says with real estate prices slowing down, is there still a need for capital? For your business. I'm kind of paraphrasing. It's too long an email to read the whole thing.
So, well, it sounds like a question I got from someone who called to inquire not too long ago about our mortgage pool fund. So at Pacific Private Money, we make real estate loans, short-term real estate loans to consumers and real estate investors who have a short-term need for capital. And we fund that with private money. And we've got two sources of private money. We've got a number of private individuals who are fairly wealthy and have access to a lot of capital, and they like to individually fund loans, and that's in fact how we started out. And we still do that here and there, but we've kind of moved over to a mortgage pool fund model where we collect individual capital in a mortgage pool fund that we set up a couple of years ago called the Pacific Private Money Fund. We use that fund to fund our loans. That's the lender, and so the lender is Pacific Private Money Fund. It's a collection of the people who have contributed their capital to this fund, and all it does is make real estate secured
All it
loans.
does is make money.
So it's like a mutual fund of real estate secured notes or mortgages. So I got this call, and the person said to me something similar. Said, "Well, real estate prices are slowing down. The appreciation is slowing down. How's that going to impact the demand for your product, for your expensive
Fair
loans?"
question.
And it was interesting when I got that question because it was like, well, our demand is really not. Let me say, the quality of the loans we do is not dependent on real estate prices going up, and in fact, good real estate investors don't need appreciation to make money. So, for example, a lot of the loans we make are to people who are buying and improving property, and so they're creating sweat equity, as it's called. And they're adding value to the property, and they're selling it for a profit. And I will, and everyone tends to agree today, the profits that you can make finding fixing and flipping property in 2015 are not as juicy as they were in 2011, 2012, 2013, when people could pick up property dirt cheap. And for those investors that had capital back then, a lot of people didn't. They were smarting from the real estate crash. Those people were able to get property at good prices, and now prices have largely recovered. But there's always room to make money in real estate. Good real estate investors can make money in a real estate market that is going up, that is flat, and in fact that's going down. And the reason you can make still money in a market that's going down is because real estate prices don't go down that fast. So over a 6-month term, for example, you can easily buy property, remodel it, sell it at a profit, even if prices, overall retail prices per square foot go down during that 6-month period. So for the question that, if interest rates go up and the real estate market starts to pull back, maybe even prices go down a little bit, isn't that going to impact the quality of the loans we make and of the investments we make? And the answer to that is no, it won't, because we're serving a very unique niche in the marketplace. A lot of it created because of Dodd-Frank, but actually much of it created just because banks stopped making the types of loans that caused the credit bubble after 2009. And there was a void in the capital flow after 2009, and that's been filled over the last 5 years by companies like Pacific Private Money, who have access to private capital, and we've plugged that hole. We've been providing the capital to people who need fast capital, short-term capital, oddball loans that the banks just basically say, no, we don't make those type of loans. That's the public, the piece of the public we serve, the niche of the market that we serve. So that, I don't see that changing no matter what happens to real estate prices. And trying to predict what's going to happen to real estate in the next 12 months is so hard, because we live in a global economy that is impacted by dozens and dozens, if not hundreds, of variables, any one of which can tip the balance and have a cascade effect that causes all of a sudden interest rates to jump or demand for real estate to change. And we don't know how that's going to happen. So living in fear of that really doesn't make any sense. We just look back over 50 years, and what I see is real estate, in my opinion, has been one of the best ways to create value, to create equity, to create a return, to grow your real estate, to grow your savings and retirement portfolio. And I still believe that. I 100% believe that, and I take that to my task when we operate and approve loans at Pacific Private Money.
Mark, I have a question. Although I think you're probably right when you say real estate prices don't really fall very quickly, the pace of sales can fall pretty quickly when people sort of say, well, they're pretty high right now, I'm going to just hold off here. How does that affect the house flipper who's gotten a loan, who had planned to sell it within, say, 6 months or a year, but now is forced because he or she doesn't want to take a cut below what they had sort of anchored their minds to as far as what they were going to get for the property?
That happens a lot.
It actually does happen a lot. Look, we make loans to real estate investors who lose money on the flip. I'll tell you that right now. In fact, I have personal experience. I've done close to a dozen flips, or been involved in close to a dozen flips since the bottom of the market, and I didn't make money on every single one of those. I'll tell you right now. I mean, it's just.
But the lender didn't lose money.
Right. Here's the lender never lost money. So as a lender, when we protect ourselves by saying, by basically limiting our exposure to no more than 70% of the market value, if the guy doesn't make any profit on it because he had to put a down payment down and then he had to fund the remodel, and he sells it and actually loses money in fact, that's coming out of his equity. So every time we make a loan, we have what's called protective equity in the transaction. What protective equity is the difference between the market value of the property and the loan that we make. We never make 100% financing. We don't even do 80% financing. We're at 70% or less.
Of the current market value.
Current market value.
If they put money into it, in theory, it's worth
It's actually
120% of.
Right. So we've made loans on properties at 70% of acquisition. Let's just use San Francisco prices for an example. It's $1 million acquisition, and we provided a $700,000 acquisition loan. We've made many, many, many of these transactions. The guy that buys a property for $1 million puts in maybe $300,000 and he's in it now for $1.3 million. We still have a $700,000 loan. He sells it, and after cost of sales and everything, he only nets $1.25 million. He just lost 50 grand, right? Now, has that happened? Well, not recently in San Francisco. Most of the guys I lend to are better than that. But I have situations where in other markets that's happened. Do I care? Well, I feel bad for the guy, but we're still very well
Well, yeah,
protected.
you want the guy to come back.
Right.
In any market, it seems to me that as people are making more and more money, and Bay Area real estate is no exception to this, and it can also be the stock market, it can be gold, it can be any investment where people have been successful recently. It seems to me that kind of activity will always eventually attract amateurs at the top of the markets. People coming in to flip homes who really aren't professional flippers, who really don't know that much about what they're doing, but everybody else is doing it, so they can do it too. How do you deal with something like that? I understand you've got the investment generally protected, but do you start to notice that happens, and what's your take on that?
Well, we're on the lookout for the amateurs, realistically. In fact, that's why I wrote the book, Attracting Private Money, Insider's Guide to Attracting Private Money, was largely for the people who were inexperienced, because again, I would like to help educate people on really how to work in the real estate realm, how to work with private investors, because the worst thing is somebody out there, like you said, who really is dangerous in that maybe they can find and attract capital through just their personality, but then they actually don't know what they're doing when it comes to real estate. We always have to be on the lookout for that. We do our due diligence on borrowers. We're typically looking for their experience level, and we're pricing the loans and the loan products to them accordingly.
All right, guys, we're going to cut to our third and final commercial break. Theme is miscellaneous sports questions. All right. Who set a National League record for being caught stealing 36 times in a season? That must have been really slow. Getting caught 36 times. Okay. The first three callers with the correct answer won a free 3-day.
Lou Alcindor.
yeah, he definitely would have been caught, probably. Who set a National League record for being caught stealing 36 times in the season? All right, the first three callers with the correct answer win a free 3-day, 2-night stay at the Lighthouse Resort. Call 888-912-1190. Do you know this one?
I got a 50-50 shot.
Do you really? Man, I'll be impressed if you get this one. Again, no looking it up on the internet. Okay, 888-912-1190. Stay with us. The Best of Investing will be right back with some awesome closing information for you.
Got some goodies there? That's you. I hogged the first sentence. So.
No. I
Do you have another question for him, or
Yeah.
did you already ask him the email question earlier?
Well, I did ask him.
Well, you also had an article, Edward, about the 5 things advisors. There was some article that you had.
Oh,
said,
yeah,
can we talk about
yeah.
that?
Yeah.
But we can talk about
Okay.
that too, whatever that
Cool.
was. So it was either Lou Brock or Maury Wills. I can't remember.
Well, you can only get 50-50 chance here. You can only guess one.
Lou Wills, Maury Brock.
Lou Al Wills.
Yeah. Lou Al Brock. One time we had.
You said it was a National League one.
Yeah. We had a.
like that means like to me. I was
What we had? We had someone one time on the show who was giving away a free book, and she, like to the first 6 callers, she gave away a lot of bucks. Now yours is 99 cents, so it's a little different. But
more than giving it away.
What kind of volume rate do you have on that? Just kidding.
I don't know. I really don't. I
But
don't know how
several
many
hundreds,
hundreds that we sold.
I asked the question about the amateurs because I have clients who come in and I said, well, he's, the husband's going to go and he's got to found this contractor and they're going to flip a house.
well, that's what you've got a first mortgage on one of his clients. Deals.
Not on one of my clients. I think it was the one that my client had asked about at the time. Right? Well, I remember that.
There was one guy he wanted to do a second.
Yeah, that was Mark's client, not my client. My client just wanted to invest in the second.
Yeah, but you
Mark
had
had-
but Mark had the first.
Right. Well,
Mark-
that did sell apparently. and
Yeah,
got paid off.
Pacific Private Money had the
In
first.
San Francisco, it was a project where the garage conversion had run into some problem, but it was all paid off, I guess.
Yeah.
I can't, So, by the way, I had a client who came in, Rudy and Linda.
Yeah.
Had seen the show on TV.
Oh my goodness.
And then they came in and they were like all excited about trust deeds. And they said, we've talked to this guy from Professional Investors, Ken Kesey.
Ken Casey.
Yeah.
That's
And so I said, well, is it a second? Oh, yeah, it's a second, but I just had a really good try. I said, well,
well, Marcy DeBova was with Ken Casey,
Yes,
Professional
exactly,
Investors.
right.
Yeah, I know.
And so I said, if you're going to look at trust, deeds of trust, make sure they're with First. And so, but if I see them again and they're still interested, I'll.
Yeah, it's interesting. Ken started doing that because he saw how successful I was in doing deeds of trust, and he was a CPA and he owned some real estate. And he's done very well in the real estate because apartments and we're in. What's that?
I don't know.
Ken Casey was a
Yeah.
CPA in Santa Fe, and now he's in Novato, and Lewis Wallach
Yeah,
is
so
really.
so you might get a call from Rudy and Linda.
All right.
Okay, we have 12 minutes, 48 seconds.
You're going to start off with
Yeah, I'll
something.
start with you, and do you have a copy of that article?
I don't.
Why do I?
I'm thinking of
You had sent it to me on Monday, I think.
Stay with us, people.
We can just make it up as we go along.
Excuse me.
Oh, by the way, this
Wait, this
is basically what this looks like, the insurance thing.
Oh, okay.
I mean, give that back to me, but, okay, so where did I?
And we could also always talk about being a fiduciary isn't enough either. You actually, because that's just a standard. It may imply no knowledge. It's just like,
Yeah.
well, I'll act in your best interest. I don't really know.
That's a good
No, seriously,
That's
seriously,
true.
it's not enough. It's not enough. It's like that's something we've never talked about. Is that enough to just say, oh, you're a fiduciary?
Shoot, I don't know where I have it. Do you remember basically what?
It was about 4 or 5 different things that. I'm surprised you don't have it.
Well, I
sure you
do.
sent it to
I mean, if
me
I,
Monday. But whatever, it's okay. I guess figure something else out.
well, if I, just trying to see, okay, is it the PINCO total return?
No, I don't think so.
No, it wasn't that one. No, the PINCO total return, that wasn't that one. Stay with me just a minute. Okay, I said this fairly recently, didn't I?
Yeah.
Okay, so I think probably what I did.
I think you sent it on Monday or Tuesday.
Did I?
Sorry, I didn't bring a copy.
Oh, here it is. I have it. It's loading. See, it's because you said 5, it was 4. Four advisor moves that shouldn't be legal. Is that the one?
Yeah.
Skewed benchmarks. Gross
4
returns.
advisor moves that shouldn't be legal.
Yeah.
That's actually
Bond
good.
interest.
What the skewed benchmark, the bond interest, and what else?
Okay, skewed benchmarks. Gross returns. Bond interest. And the last is income for life. It's like an annuity. All right.
Want to talk about that?
Yeah, good stuff. Ready?
That'll happen, Captain.
Welcome back to The Best of Investing. Last time for today, I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with Mark Hunt and Mike Zablin. When we cut to the final commercial break, we asked this trivia question in sports. Well, who set a National League record for being caught stealing 36 times in a season?
I think it was Maury Wills.
That would be too easy if it was Maury Wills. Sorry. He was actually more
No
known
idea.
for being a coach, or manager, excuse me. You have to go back to 1914, Miller Huggins for the St. Louis Cardinals. He attempted 68 times and was successful only 32. He's probably in a wheelchair.
Well, I do know for a fact Miller Huggins was 5'2".
Yeah, you know what, that'll help.
And you know what? 90 feet can seem like a long way when you're.
Yeah. Okay, so now I had gotten this article from Financial Planning, and it talked about 4 advisor moves that shouldn't be legal. I wanted to talk a little bit about that.
That's a
Only-
great
only
headline.
4?
Only 4, yes. So one of them here was talking about income for life. And it looks like what they're talking about is, a CD versus an annuity, how getting an annuity would
Well,
give you
let's
income
just
for
talk
life.
about the general concept of income for life. It typically comes with annuities. Of course, there are many different kinds of annuities, but usually it's comes with an immediate. One of the main ones is an immediate fixed annuity. Those tend to have much lower fees than what are called variable deferred annuities or other annuities in which the market is being tracked in one form or another. Immediate fixed annuities can be, I think, an okay investment if because for one, the fees tend to be lower. And you're not really tied to the market. You're simply getting a percentage for the rest of your life. So let's say you're 65 and you're in great health and you have long life expectancies in your family and you think you might live past 100. An immediate fixed annuity can be a good form of longevity insurance.
But if interest rates are low, they're locking you into a low
That's
interest
true.
rate.
There are always pros and cons to everything.
Yeah,
But what if they go?
for the
What if they go
heirs.
lower? What if they go lower?
That's possible.
So everything's a trade. Everything's a trade-off. One of the main problems with an annuity, of course, is you're usually giving up all your money, especially once you annuitize. With an immediate fixed annuity, you're annuitizing right away. With a variable deferred annuity, you're usually never annuitizing because people usually don't want to give up the death benefit.
Yeah.
But the problem with that is that while you're making these withdrawals, you're usually paying an interest rate because it's considered a loan generally. If you're also paying usually around 2 to 3% every year in fees. You are preserving the death benefit, but the death benefit in dollars, in tomorrow's dollars, is usually going to be far less than what it seems like today.
You're almost better off to just buy a small
You
insurance
get a
policy or
$100,000
something.
death benefit, but by 30 years go by, and that $100,000 is reduced to about $20,000 in terms of present value.
Yeah.
But one of the main problems with variable deferred annuities is when you do start making withdrawals on anything other than an annuitization basis, you're usually being taxed on a last in, first out basis, which means all your investment gains are being taxed first. So from a tax point of view, it may not be that great of a deal. And so really it's necessary, I think, to really look at the nuts and bolts of, going through that 50 or 60 page contract to see what, well, and that's a big negative too, is if Warren Buffett used to say, if you can't explain it with a crayon, stay away from it.
Exactly. Okay, here's another one here. Skewed benchmarks. Yeah, I know sometimes these mutual funds will say, yeah, we were the #1 fund from, March 22nd of 1991 until, April 3rd of 2000 or something.
Yeah, benchmark, there's a lot of dancing around with benchmarks. Are you using the S&P? Are you using, a lot of times there are new benchmarks that come out that no one's ever heard of from a company no one's ever heard of. Because the old benchmark just didn't serve the purpose. So,
So
you've got to, it can be really tricky. There's a lot of style drift. A lot of mutual fund managers have large caps and they'll have some small caps, and so the returns can look bigger than they are because they've got some small caps in there, or they might have value versus growth. And one way or another, it looks like it's a better return than the benchmark by a significant degree, and then they get the 5-star Morningstar rating, and then that's gone in 12 months and no one remembers it. But in the meantime, they've met their marketing goals.
Mark, moving on to number 3 here. Gross returns. Says the mutual fund industry must report fund returns after fees, known as net of fees. Yet many money managers show clients returns gross of fees or before fees.
Yeah. Well, that clearly shows. That clearly demonstrates that there's a problem. If you're showing returns gross of fees, I'm not sure who's being served by that other than the seller of the fund.
Sure.
What really is dramatic sometimes is the after-tax returns of mutual funds. So if you have someone who is buying and trading 30 or 40 stocks in the S&P 500 and doing well, let's say doing well, and beating the S&P 500, let's say the S&P index kicked out 10%, but this strategy somehow kicked out 12%, but you're trading so much that you're turning over the portfolio at about 300% a year, and all of its, or most of its short-term capital gains, then on an after-tax basis, you would have been better off with the S&P 500 and having it held just passively. And so now they are, I think, obligated to demonstrate or show the after-tax return, because for many years people never really understood that it wasn't just the gross pre-tax return that mattered, but the after-tax return. So apples to apples is the key.
Last one here, bond interest income. Now this one I was really surprised. They even said that why certain portfolios are misleading, and that even a group of CPAs, I can't believe that these CPAs couldn't figure this one out. But basically they're talking about buying bonds at premium and then saying what the coupon rate is, and especially if there's a call feature at par and it's short term, I mean, you can get smoked on that.
Well, there's no end to smoke and mirrors in the financial services industry, and this is just more evidence of it, unfortunately. And buyer beware, unfortunately, despite a lot of government attempts to, and FINRA and SEC attempts to mandate disclosure, you still need to really, I think, be working with someone who can really help you understand what could potentially be misleading to you.
Getting smoked, is that a financial term?
Yeah, really. So,
Universal.
Mike, you're giving us a lot of good independent advice. How do the viewers get a hold of viewers of television, because we are recording for television, and the listeners get a hold of you?
Well, I can be reached at 415-785-4585 or on the web at madronellc.com.
Great. And Mark, we forgot to tell people how to get a hold of you, because right now your fund is paying what interest rate?
Well, we ended the year at 8.14% for the calendar year of 2014. We're only into February now, so don't really have any meaningful statistics. But it's been consistent. We're actually a little bit higher than that right now, about 8.25. But we expect to produce a return in 15 similar to 14, which is in the low 8% range for the monthly investors, and those who are growth investors will see more like an 8.5%, thanks to the power of compounding. Yeah. So for more information, you can contact us. We're here in the Bay Area at 415-883-2150. The company is Pacific Private Money. We're based in downtown Novato. And if you're interested in finding more information about how our mortgage pool fund works, we have a website specifically for the fund. It's called the Pacific Money Fund, and it's pacificmoneyfund.com, all one word, pacificmoneyfund.com.
And you have primarily first mortgages in there.
Primarily, yes.
And what's the cumulative loan to value right now?
That's one of the best features of our fund right now. We have so many low LTV, that's loan to value, low LTV loans in the portfolio that our weighted average loan to value right now is 48%.
That's amazing.
Yes.
What's the highest LTV loan in there?
I think we've got one that's a little over 70%, but it was a purchase loan, so the guy put a really good, strong down payment down on that. So on refinances, we're usually more 65% or less. But we just have a lot of below 50% loan to value loans in that portfolio. So and it's a pretty fast turning fund, fast turnover, short term loans.
And again, for the audience out there, it's like thinking, why would anyone borrow money and pay 8, 9, 10% if their LTV is 40% or 30% or
because they need the
50%?
money fast is usually the reason why, and they can't get it from a bank, or maybe the money's held in a trust and the banks aren't making loans to trust, or maybe it's a probate situation where siblings are buying out each other. I mean, I can sit here and rattle off 100 different scenarios where they went to the bank first, the bank said no. So we're generally not a primary source, except for real estate investors who know their bank's going to say no. They come to us because they know they can't get it elsewhere. But a lot of the clients we serve, we're the plan B. So we're not inexpensive money, but we're fast, we're dependable, and we're friendly. We're easy to work with. We're just not cheap. That's the cost.
We got about 45 seconds, Mike. Anything you want to tell our audience?
I was going to ask Mark, with trust deed income being taxed generally as ordinary income,
Yes.
if money stays in the fund, does it compound without the taxation aspect, or how does that work?
Still have to pay the taxes.
Yeah, you do. So the fund is an LLC. It's a limited partnership, so you do get a K1 return every year, ordinary income, and we distribute 100% of the income.
LLC or LLP?
It is an LLC.
Okay,
This is
limited liability company.
Delaware limited liability company operating under a private placement memorandum.
Okay. Very good. All right, so let me get to our thoughts for the day here. Tallulah Bankhead. Now, I can't remember who she was. She was some sports
Second
figure.
baseman.
Yeah, slow second baseman. Now, she was a sports figure somehow. The tennis.
Actress.
Actress?
Actress.
Okay. She said, there have been only 2 geniuses in the world, Willie Mays and Willie Shakespeare. I like that one. And Tommy Lasorda, remember him? He said, no matter how good you are, you're going to lose 1/3 of your games. No matter how bad you are, you're going to win 1/3 of your games. It's the other third that makes the difference. Words of Weiss. Who would have thunk it? All right, so let's see what we got here. You guys told us how to get a hold of you?
PacificPrivateMoney.com.
Mike?
Mike Zatlin at 415-785-4585.
And they can also go to what, Madrone Advisory,
MadroneLLC.com.
MadroneLLC.com. Got it.
And get my book, Attracting Private Money, at AttractingPrivateMoneyBook.com.
I am reading that book tonight.
I know, me too. 99 cents. 99 cent special.
Yep, on Kindle, 99 cents.
Love it. All right, tune in next week to The Best of Investing because we're going to be giving away 9 more free vacations for answering trivia questions. Thanks for listening. On behalf of our team, I'm Edward Brown. We're wishing you the best of investing.